Here's what you need to do to be healthy. Oh, wait, you're doing that? Raise the bar. Here's the thing you need to do to be healthy. Oh, wait, you're doing that? Raise the bar. Here's the thing you need to do to be healthy. And it keeps increasing things to be terrified of and increasing the expense of the things that you must buy, right? Like that is what
Right.
the wellness
Because it always
influencers do.
comes with a supplement or a
Yeah.
program or something or a
Yeah.
fancy
Be
ingredient or
terrified of spinach, buy my continuous glucose monitor, right? Like that is what wellness influencers are talking about right now. Hit me, producer Potts.
Okay, Dr. Sarah, over the last two videos, well, actually three, we started with the dose makes the poison. Over the last three videos, you have really alleviated my fears and concerns about like buying organic versus conventional when it comes to fruit and produce. However, and we've also like concerns with pesticides and concerns with like them being better for our health overall. I will make sure those videos are here if you guys missed that and you're just watching this video first. But here's my question is, aren't organic foods more nutrient dense? And I know with Nutrivore, the goal is to get all the nutrients we need from the foods we eat. So if we can afford organic, should we then buy organic because we'll get more nutrients?
The answer again is probably not. So there's not a ton of nutrition data comparing the conventionally grown version of a tomato versus the organic tomato, right? There's not a ton to go by. Most of the time when we're looking at the nutrients in a food, we're looking at conventional averages from grocery stores, right? So we're looking at an average of a bunch of samples of what you can get in your grocery store, and on average, that food has that percent daily value of that nutrient. But when we crunch the numbers and look at nutrient density and use the data that we do have access to of conventional versus organic, you don't see a pattern, right? Organic is not always better. Most of the time, the differences are negligible. And the reason for that is the things that control the variability in nutrient content in crops are not whether or not that crop was sprayed with a pesticide. It is the soil quality it's grown in, the climate it's grown in, the luck of the weather that season. It's the exact cultivar that was grown. It is whether or not fertilizers were used. That could be, organic fertilizers or synthetic fertilizers will impact the nutrient quality of a food. So there's variability in the nutrient content of foods. And different nutrients have different levels of variability, right? So different measurements showing, right, how much vitamin B3 there is in different crops of celery. I'm pulling a number out of thin air. There might be a 20 or 50% difference between different samples, and that's all because the nutrient value of crops is variable. So my big picture is when we're thinking this much in the weeds about nutrient density, do I get 5% more from this or 2% more from this? We are focusing on the wrong thing. We're like looking at the trees and missing the forest, because the studies that have evaluated how easy it is to meet our nutritional needs from the foods we eat, when they have done those calculations based on the lowest amount of nutrients of any of their samples, show that just eating lots of fruits and vegetables, like it's really easy to hit our nutrient requirements of those types of nutrients, right? It doesn't, even if we're getting the lowest in that variability, right? The carrot that was grown in the worst soil, in the worst season, that had the worst luck of the weather, that had, no fertilizers used, like that carrot is still a nutritionally valuable carrot, and it still helps us meet our nutritional needs. Looking very specifically at the conventional versus organic foods data, I have in my book, Nutrivore, The Radical New Science for Getting the Nutrients You Need from the Foods You Eat, available wherever books are sold and maybe at your local library. So if it's not there, feel free to put in a request. I put in an analysis of the nutrient density, so the Nutrivore score, which is a measurement of nutrients per calorie, which is the scientific definition of nutrient density, that uses 33 nutrients in the calculation, including a variety of phytonutrients, which are the thing that tends to be enhanced in like the tomatoes when you grow them in your backyard. The reason why they are so much more flavorful is because of those phytonutrients. So it's really important to use a method of quantifying nutrient density that incorporates phytonutrients to do this comparison. So the Nutrivore score does that. So I amalgamated data from 4 different studies to get as much different data between the conventional and the organic version as I could. And I recalculated Nutrivore scores for those crops using that data. So supplanting all of the average data with the conventional versus organic, again, from every study that I could find that had any nutrient that went into the calculation that compared organic versus conventional. So for carrots, the organic was 10% more nutrient dense. It's worth noting that carrots are incredibly nutrient dense, and 10% is not a big difference when you're talking about something that's like that amazing. Tomatoes were 20% less nutrient dense. The organic tomatoes were 20% less nutrient dense. Lettuce was 4% more nutrient dense when organic. Spinach was 3% more nutrient dense when organic. Potatoes were 5% less nutrient dense when organic. Cabbage was 7% more nutrient dense when organic, and strawberries were 2% less nutrient dense when organic. So sometimes the organic is a little bit better. Sometimes it's a little bit worse, right? So sometimes the organic version will have more nutrients per calorie. Sometimes the conventional will have more nutrients per calorie. And it's because the things that are controlling the nutrient content of these foods are not whether or not pesticides or synthetic or organic fertilizers were used, right? The things that go into organic farming certification are not the things that are contributing to a food's nutrient qualities. So when you kind of look at this big picture and the average, it tells you that, first of all, these are not big differences. I mean, 20% less for tomatoes maybe is. All of the rest of these differences are within 10%. They're, a couple percent. It's not a big difference. That's the same difference that we might see going from fresh to frozen to canned to boiled, right? Like these types of little differences are not meaningful when we look at how much nutrition these foods are contributing to our overall diets. It's more important that we're eating these types of foods rather than exactly how they're prepared or what aisle of the grocery store we bought them in. So these are very, very small differences, not meaningful from a health perspective. And also, some are up, some are down, right? So that tells us that we can't say, looking at the strawberries in the store, which strawberries, the conventional or the organic, are going to be more nutrient dense, because this is all within the noise. This is all within variability of crops, variability of, different, different farms, different regions. There's going to be a little bit up or down, and it's like, unless you have a mass spectrometer in your house and you can measure the nutrients in the version of the food that you bought at the store, you're never going to know. You're never going to know if the one that you bought is a little bit higher or a little bit lower, and it doesn't matter. You don't need to know that. You just need to know, on average, this is applying this. And that means that on average, right, all nutrients, we don't need to get every nutrient hit the daily value every day. We just want to average above the daily value on a short enough time scale that we're depending on the nutrient, how much of it we can store, that we are supplying our body with enough on average, right? That is, we're so focused on small differences that at the end of the day don't have any impact on human health. And that's where the difference between conventional and organic lies. So I wouldn't say from this, go ahead and, you're going to get more nutrients from organic. You're not every time. Sometimes you're going to get fewer. But I wouldn't say from this, like, if you want to support a local farm and they farm organically, like, I wouldn't say, don't do that, right? What this shows is that it's all in the noise. And when it's in the noise, we say they're equal. There's no nutritional difference between conventionally grown and organically grown produce.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. And it's good to hear, because Organic and conventional, you've really, throughout these couple of videos that you've done, you've just really, I mean, there just really is like no difference as it pertains to our personal health, and like just do what feels good for you, whether that's growing your own garden or getting canned green beans. Like it's
Right.
all within. So something you say often that I think is just clarified with these videos, it's much more important the types of foods that are on your plate than the quality of them. And the
Right.
quality of them is a choice.
To
So it's
to
not a
bring us back
requirement.
to bring us back to the statistic that like launched this little mini series of videos, which was that, according to consumer surveys, so these are not the most scientific of surveys. Let's put a little caveat there. But 60% of Americans are worried about the pesticides in their foods. And the action that those people are taking was, let me pull up the exact statistic again so I can quote it exactly. The exact statistic was 71% of them therefore avoided vegetables, and 59% of them therefore avoided fruit, right? So the fear mongering around pesticides is causing people to eat fewer fruits and vegetables, which is objectively harming their long-term health outcomes, because eating a diet abundant in fruits and vegetables is one of the most important long-term healthy eating patterns. So I think it's really important to understand that conventional foods are safe and they are nutritionally equivalent to organic foods. There's no health reason to pick organic over conventional. You might have other calculus going into your choice. Perhaps you're worried about worker safety and you don't like that workers who work on farms that use synthetic pesticides have a higher risk of health problems. And I think that's incredibly valid. And if you have the resources to buy organic, like that's awesome. That's fantastic. I'm not saying don't buy organic either. I'm just saying that understand that from a health and nutrition perspective, conventional and organic foods are equal. So if you are straining your budget to buy organic, you don't need to. That was misinformation that is rampant online. Like we are this tiny little drop in a very big bucket of nutrition misinformation. So hopefully we're making a dent, but I don't know yet. But yeah, it's just yet another one of those myths that are designed to make healthy eating feel unattainable, right?
Right.
And what the data shows is that what people do with that information, I've talked about this so many times, right? That what the wellness community does is says, here's what you need to do to be healthy. Oh, wait, you're doing that? Raise the bar. Here's the thing you need to do to be healthy. Oh, wait, you're doing that? Raise the bar. Here's the thing you need to do to be healthy. And it keeps increasing things to be terrified of and increasing the expense of the things that you must buy, right? Like that is what
Right.
the wellness
Because it always
influencers
comes
do.
with a supplement or a
Yeah.
program or something or a fancy
Yeah. Be
ingredient or
terrified of spinach, buy my continuous glucose monitor, right? Like that is what wellness influencers are talking about right now.
right,
And
right. Because there's so much noise out there about, you know, soil quality. So buy my supplements,
right.
or like you said, like you should, the transit time of the vegetables, or only grow your own, or all this stuff. And when it comes down to it, like what matters is that we're eating enough fruits and vegetables. It does not matter if they are organic or conventional. It doesn't
Right.
matter if they're frozen or in a can or the lettuce on our hamburger. It
And
it all counts.
the net effect of that fear mongering, that fear-based marketing to sell whatever it is that wellness influencer
It's
has to
making us
sell,
more unhealthy.
is it's making people feel like, well, if it's that expensive, if it's that hard, I'm not even going to try, right? If I can't afford that thing that you're selling me, that, $60 a month multivitamin or that $300 a month fiber supplement, I can't afford that thing, so I won't even try. And so what it's actually doing is creating a bigger disparity between the haves and the have-nots in health, while steering people who, feel like they do have the resources to do something that's not actually science-based and actually going to improve their health, and dissuading people who don't have the resources into, well, throw up my hands, I'm just going to eat what I want, and I'm not even going to try. What I want to do is help people improve diet quality, little d diet, going back to one of our very first videos, like improve overall healthy eating patterns, right? So we're eating a high quality diet overall while continuing to enjoy our favorite foods, while choosing foods for convenience, for budget stretching reasons, for tradition, for joy, and understanding that balance is part of sustainability. Like adding more nutrient dense whole foods, adding more fruits and vegetables, while continuing to eat the foods that, make us happy, is how we can improve diet quality and stick to it instead of this like on again, off again diet roller coaster. So busting these myths is about making healthy eating accessible, affordable, and non-stressful.
I love that so much. Can you please tell people about your book and where they can get it? Because if you're just joined us or you're new to this philosophy of Nutrivore, this is the book you need to give you the roadmap to start making these affordable and easy, accessible changes.
Yes, within a permissive structure and not a restrictive one, right? So Nutrivore, I often say, kind of lives between the world of diet and anti-diet, because it is about understanding how to choose nutrient-dense foods that support our long-term health, but it's also within this permissive structure. So I just quoted from page 201, which is in chapter 10, entirely dedicated to myth busting. But this whole book is basically what are nutrients and why should I care, right? That is my goal, is to teach you the information that you need to be able to identify misinformation when you encounter it on the internet, while improving your relationship with food and your own body. So the book is called Nutrivore, The Radical New Science for Getting the Nutrients You Need from the Food You Eat. And it's available wherever books are sold. And it may be at your local library. If it's not, you can put in a request with the librarian and they will be able to get in a copy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sarah.
Thank you.